Hello everybody and welcome back. I'm Rob and today we are going to be painting a Archmagos for the Horus Heresy, or a tech priest I guess for 40k, but whatever way we're going to get techno, we're going to join the new sphere, and we're going to paint this guy up. Now this is actually fairly straightforward, but I am going to start with the metallics first, because what I didn't want to do is spend ages blocking in metallics, so I thought I'd do it in reverse. So we're going to start with gunmetal, and then we're going to highlight with Mithril Silver. So I've laid the gunmetal down over a black undercoat, and then I've done the Mithril Silver over the top with just a very, very simple zenithal highlight from above with an airbrush. Now, if you don't have an airbrush, don't panic. You can always just do this with dry brushing or some heavy dry brushing, whatever. Whichever way is accessible to you. You could even use a spray can, a light silver from above. So if this video is turning you off because I'm using an airbrush, don't panic. We're going to use strong tone mixed with a little of the wash medium. Strong tone is a really, really lovely colour, very similar to the old Devlin Mud, if you are old enough to remember that colour. Now, on reflection, I probably didn't need to add the wash medium to this, because I actually ended up giving it a second coat of this colour, of the strong tone. So I'd recommend just going straight in with strong tone, but just be careful. Make sure it doesn't pool in all the wrong places. You can see I'm taking time here, and this is why I did two thin coats rather than one thick coat, just because I didn't want it to pool and look unsightly, which can always happen with any kind of washes that you use. So just bear that in mind. But yeah, as I say, two thin coats of that. Then we're going to use Mithril again. And very simple, we're just going to give it a heavy dry brush using a makeup brush here, or any other kind of brush that you have. And you can see I'm just kind of using top-down motion, striking the model, just picking out all the key elements of it, and this is going to be important for the next step. But the reason why I use strong tone, say, over black is that, I wanted an oily sheen to this, lots of mechanical moving parts, which is why I chose the strong tone over, say, just a dark tone or a black wash. But yeah, hardened leather, I use this all the time. It is an amazing colour for leather, but it's also an amazing colour for creating like copper or brasses. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to give it a go. Let's see what happens. And it made an awesome colour. And what I've done is I've put this on a dry palette, but I've just added one drop of gloss varnish to this, just to keep the shine, just to keep the sheen. You don't need to, but I was just conscious that I didn't want it to be really, really dull and really matted down. So just one drop of gloss varnish, and as you can see, it creates a really, really nice kind of like coppery brass colour. I'm not even sure how you describe it, but whatever colour it is, it's going to be a good one to add some patina, some verdigris too. So hardened leather, who would have thought, over metals, and it's really simple. Like, you're not kind of like doing your nut in by going over this, blocking things in, highlighting it. It obviously just highlights it for you. So we're going to go with purple tone now, and over those copper colours we're going to use this purple tone. This will just add richness to these coppers that we've put down, add a little bit more depth to it. I didn't add any gloss varnish. This is just straight from the bottle. The washes from the Army Painter don't matte too much, I don't think. They still maintain the luster of the metallics, so there's no need to add gloss varnish. Sometimes I just add it in to help the flow, but there wasn't any need here. I almost wanted the shadows to be matted down against the shininess of those kind of like highlights that are showing through, because we use speed paint. But the purple over kind of like copper colours is a really good wash. You can see kind of the richness of the colour when we put this down. Right, we're going to add some patina. So we're going to use Scarab Green with a little bit of airbrush medium. I'll show you quite a lot of the footage here, just so you can see the mixes. So just a tiny, tiny dollop of Scarab Green in like a little metal ramekin. These are really useful to have, dirt cheap as well. You can just get them off Amazon for like, I don't know, like 10 for a couple of quid. Really useful for oils, but for mixing things as well, like this. So yeah, so we had we dump a whole load of airbrush medium in. You can mix water in. I do find sometimes if I mix water into like acrylic paint and use it as a wash, we get that kind of like horrible coffee stain. that you can sometimes get around with like rivets and things like that, where you want it to be like a soft transition rather than like a coffee stain harsh transition. So I find with a little bit of airbrush media in, that kind of gets around that. You can always add a little bit of flow improver as well in. The Army Painter's airbrush medium has a little bit of flow improver in, so that kind of it kills two birds with one stone in that regard. And then what we can do is just add this effect around the copper areas. Now you could be quite liberal with this, or you can not use it at all. You might just like the copper color as is. But I just wanted to add a little bit of age to this copper to show that he is, extremely old, or the mechanisms he's using are ancient and old. And I think you've seen from lots of my videos before, when I do kind of Mechanicum stuff, I like to add in that patina look, just to show weathering and show age. And I think that this color works well against the hardened leather, rather than using something within the blues or the turquoises. So I would advise going down the green route for this, just against that color. I just think it's a nice combination of color, and I can't tell you more than that. It's just, I just like it. And sometimes when we're painting miniatures, it's just about personal choice and personal preference. You can, of course, use some turquoises. So I did think Deep Azure would be a good alternative, and I kind of had the two in my hand and was thinking, which one should I use? But I went for Scarab Green and went for a teal color rather than an aquamarine color with this. But as I say, you just add this liberally to places. You can build it up as well. The more you put on and the more layers you put on, the more obvious that effect will be. But what I will do is enhance this effect a little bit later by using a lighter color, which is just coming up right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to add some Talisman Teal to that original mix that we made. Now, Talisman Teal, in terms of like the triad, it's somewhere around the middle. It's a nice middle color, and it's a really actually lovely color. Like, if you were to do just like Mechanicum in this color, I think it would look really, really nice. Maybe with some orange stripes or something like that. I think it would look really, really hot. So yeah, but anyway, we just add in a little bit of Talisman Teal to the original mix. I don't think any extra or additional airbrush medium. But what you can see me doing is I'm being a lot less liberal than I was before. This is just building up in kind of like the nooks and the crannies, the real areas where I feel like oxidation would happen most, particularly where like water has gathered when he's been outside, or moisture has collected and condensed and then run down into these areas. That's where oxidation is gonna happen. So just be a little bit more careful, a little bit more circumspect. And I think that this is what you would typically do with like a patina effect. You would go for a darker color and then go for a slightly lighter color, building it up. Now this does dry obviously darker than it is when it goes on, so bear that in mind. So we're going to use Dragon Red mixed in with a little purple, which was Terrestial Titan. Just about a 50-50 mix, and we've just used that as a base coat. And then we're going to go for the Dragon Red. So this is straight up Dragon Red, just mixed with a little bit of water just to loosen it up a little bit on my wet palette. And then we're just highlighting the cloak. Now this is actually, it's quite difficult to get to the front of this, which is why I haven't filmed a lot of it, because I have to be careful to not touch any of the metallic elements. This, of course, went over a black base coat. What you sort of saw me do, or rather what you didn't see me do, was while the patina effect was drying, I then did all the black elements of it, just to try and fit those jobs in while things are drying, because it will save you time. And then this robe, the back of it is fairly straightforward to do. The bits that are jumping out, the bits that are hit by the light there, that's the bits that we highlight, and the bits that are in shadow, those are the bits that we don't highlight. This isn't like a specific cloth painting tutorial. There are loads of tutorials like that out there. This is just simple blending it up, layering up, to give smooth transitions. But I would say this is quite a rough and ready version of a cloak that I would do. I'd probably spend more time with the blends and making them softer, but we can afford to be rough and ready with this model. We're going to go to pure red now, which is quite a nice step up from the dragon red. In fact, they are both considered cool reds, and it is actually the natural step up in terms of the triad. The army painter have cool reds, and then they have kind of like warm reds. Warm reds that the army painter do tend towards the orange, and then the cool reds tend towards the cooler side of the spectrum of the color wheel. They have more purples in, for example, and it's up to you to decide like what kind of red that you ultimately want for your Mechanicum. You could just dry brush this a white and then go over with blood red, which I think is a really, really nice kind of like vibrant red color, but ultimately it is up to you. As you can see though, the pure red is quite a light red, quite a desaturated red. It's not I wouldn't describe it as a vibrant red. You can kind of see what it is, and this is just straight out of the bottle. This is not mixed with anything, so just be mindful of that when you apply this. It's more of a desaturated red. Then we're going to apply pure red with violet vermilion. Now violet vermilion is actually a warm red, and I'm mixing a cool red and a warm red together here, but actually it just feels as like a tippity top highlight, particularly around the head. This kind of like cloak, this cowl, I guess is what it's called, and the top highlights. This is actually quite a nice kind of like tippity top highlight. These two mixed together in a 50-50 mix. But I definitely wouldn't say that this is a vibrant red. I think this is important to get across. It's like desaturated, almost like the robes have been weathered and washed over time. Which I think looks quite good, and it kind of goes for the whole like patina effect. I'm not sure, a super weathered metallic against a bright new fancy cloak. I think sometimes we need to be mindful of the general look we're going for, so sometimes having like a desaturated red in this way I think works quite effectively, and it's just a matter of going around and doing a little bit of edge highlighting here and there, just underlining the scratches and things like that within the cloak, or where the cloak has torn. The holes in the cloak, for example, I would just go around to kind of edge highlighting those bits. Now, what I did do is just added some black trim to the edge of the cowl, or the hood, and I did it along the bottom as well. I actually really liked the effect around the hood, and then I liked it less around the bottom. So my advice would be just do the cuffs and like you can see here, just do the cuffs and just do the hood, and you can see me here just giving it a black base coat and then highlighting it with various greys. I think I mixed in black and then company grey, and then just worked my way up all the way up to straight up company grey. But it's got no blues in it. It's a fairly neutral grey, and just generally highlighting with the kind of like the light source and highlighting the edges and things like that. It's not too complicated, but as I say, you just work your way up from black up to company grey. And I've been quite rough with these blends as well. Like, they're not smooth blends. Just because of the nature of the model, you can afford to be quite rough. And this is what it looks like. So I did the ribbing around the bottom. I kind of painted that on, but actually on reflection, I wish I kept it red and just had those top two bits, the cuffs and the head, just in black with a black ribbing. But it looks okay. It looks fine. So matte white. We're going to do a glow effect now. Now, I haven't shown you the paints for this, because I actually forgot to record them, but we're going to go in with matte white, and then the 4 lenses, the 3 eyes on him, and then this kind of like, I don't know, this other kind of like gem thing on the side here. And this is data system glow. Now, what I would say is data system glow is very, very thin. So you guys, I'm just shaking it now. It's very thin. It will go straight through an airbrush, but with a brush, you need to use about 2 to 3 thin coats of this to build up a vibrant kind of like green glowing effect, but you can afford to be a little bit slapdash with this, like go around and underneath the eyes. That's okay to give the effect of it's glowing. That looks perfectly okay. So if you're a bit if you aren't steady-handed, this is kind of like the perfect effect for like eye lenses and stuff like that, because you can just kind of hit around the area. We're going to go back in with matte white. just in the center here, and just be a little bit more careful with this. Now you could have left it just with that green glow, that's absolutely fine, but just to make it even more vibrant, once that white has dried, I then go in with lens flare glow, exactly the same. It's just a yellow fluorescent paint. It's a very, very thin, as I said before, so you need to build it up in thin coats. Again, put a coat down, then leave it to dry, put another coat down, leave it to dry. So just take your time with it, and build it up in 3 thin layers. This tubing on the front, I felt it was a little bit boring, needed a little bit of something extra, so I decided to make all this tubing yellow. So we paint it all white first, and then we're going to go in with a speed paint. So Ancient Honey, which is actually quite a nice warm yellow colour, rather than like maize, which is I guess just like similar to like demonic yellow. It's just a proper bright, vibrant yellow. This is it's slightly warmer, this honey colour, which I quite like. But we are going to knock this back with some orange tone once we've laid a good coat down. So orange tone is like a rusty kind of like wash. It's obviously orange, and it just goes into all the nooks and crannies and shades it really nicely. That is literally the tubing done. Like, it's as simple as that. When I did it, I was like, oh, that actually looks pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with that. And that was relatively straightforward. So yeah, and then what I've done is I've used some liquid pigments along the bottom. I've used bright green fluorescent liquid pigments on this, and there's rationale, which is that the red will contrast against the green, so it will make it, even though I've used the desaturated kind of like reds, and I use that vermilion in it, the green will help to make the red and the model pop against the base, but also it's just the theme of this Mechanicum army that I'm working on as well. And as you can see here, this is what it looks like dried, and this is what it looks like all finished as well. The hand was just painted with what color was it? It was ruby skin. No, in fact, it was pearl skin and then shaded with purples and then just highlighted with pearl skin again. And that's it. That's it finished. And this actually is the end of my Mechanicum series. This is the 5th video in my Mechanicum series. I've shown you how to do Automata, Thalax, and now this Archmagos as well. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to leave a comment. And if you've got this far and haven't subscribed, please make sure that you do. Thank you ever so much for watching. And next time, I think it's going to be some Custodies. See you soon.